Sunset Overdrive released about 7 years ago and originally launched as a sole Xbox One exclusive. However, it was the last major video game that Insomniac Games would create before they would eventually be bought out by Sony. Sunset Overdrive, however, in its fun element, isn't too far away from the roots of Insomniac, and it definitely isn't too different from what they're doing now. Just like their newest games with open world games with action adventure mechanics that utilize everything in its arsenal to make the gameplay and world super fun, Sunset Overdrive might be one of the biggest examples of this for Insomniac. However, is the game still worth buying in 2021? Today we'll be talking about the narrative and gameplay of Sunset Overdrive. Sunset Overdrive is definitely no story-driven game. The game thrives primarily in its gameplay department, and overall, in my opinion, I really don't think that the story in the game is that great. It definitely wasn't memorable for me, but that doesn't really matter that much, as the game's fantastic gameplay takes its center stage and is so compelling that the game's story didn't really need to be that good in the first place. It's quite stereotypical and is set in a little into the future, where a soda company called Fizco has unveiled and officially released their newest drink upon the public. The drink itself becomes extremely popular, but the contents of the soda weren't that good for the people, as it was quite contaminated. This turned the people who drank this outrageous soda into zombie mutants. Following the events of this new outbreak of zombies and chaos across the world, several groups of different bandits formed to terrorize other survivors, and that is when our main character, a young and lone teenager, decides to thrive in this new environment created by the drink. The game's story definitely wasn't that original, and was just another story that utilized zombie mutants, which is a huge recurring theme throughout many video games today. But the game's story doesn't need to be good, because all it really is a backdrop for the game's gameplay, and the story isn't memorable or, to be honest, that well written, but it still works in the goofy and hilarious story that Insomniac is trying to deliver. So the story was meant to be super light-hearted and funny for the player, and it wasn't supposed to be some story of dark vengeance or a deep and really well-written story with character development. The light-hearted traits of the story do complement the world and gameplay of Sunset Overdrive, and overall was okay for what it was. Now let's talk about the main reason why you'd want to still buy the game. Sunset Overdrive features beautifully fast-paced real-time combat from a wonderful third-person perspective with extremely high-speed traversal around an expansive and colorful city full of chaos. The game's gameplay is absolutely fantastic. It's mainly broken up to two major points, those being the game's traversal and combat mechanics, which are both amazing in their own rights. And if you're a fan of Insomniac's newer or even older games, then you'll definitely feel right at home with Sunset Overdrive's chaotic gameplay. Like many of the other games that Insomniac has beautifully molded, the game sports a variety of insane and crazy weaponry they use throughout the game to take down all the wacky and crazy foes coming at you. Sunset Overdrive is inherently a gigantic open world playground of limitless possibilities. First, let's go over the game's traversal mechanics. You can vault, grind, and wall run across the game's incredible world with the most deadly and unconventional arsenal that you can make up. With super hyper agility and customizable abilities, the game redefines a third-person shooter and makes it into something completely new and unique. And the game's traversal is so much damn fun, and throughout the game, when unlocking new abilities and skills to help you do more crazy stunts, you find yourself loving to just traverse the game's world even more than you enjoy the combat mechanics itself, due to the sheer amount of possibilities available to you while traversing the apocalyptic world of Sunset Overdrive. A fast travel system is in the game, but I doubt that anyone actually utilizes it due to how much damn fun the game's traversal mechanics always are. Use the grind rails to definitely navigate around the game's streets, and you are able to seamlessly switch positions and directions instantly at will, and this just makes the flow of the gameplay absolutely incredible. The city is also filled to the brim with different gadgets and objects that will allow the traversal to become even better, with items helping players bounce up high into the air. There's no slow mode or really stealth in the game at all, so instead agility really is the only way to go around the game's world. Now let's talk about the game's awesome combat. The game's combat directly interconnects itself with the game's agility, as they work together to create such awesome and fun mechanics. It focuses mainly on velocity, and this encourages players to find their own creative solutions to defeat all their enemies in a really fast-paced way. As a result of this, players can employ many different tricks and stunts to help them fight off their foes, such as wall running, air dashing, zip lining, forming parkour, and many different acrobatic moves, as well as the ability to traverse on water. Players can utilize their weapons while doing all their crazy movement tricks, and can slow down time for a period, which they can utilize to take aim and take take down their foes in awesome slow motion fashion. You'll never be walking on the ground because instead you'll be relying mostly on your agility during combat to survive every encounter that the game puts you through. There's also an awesome style meter shown in the heads-up display, and the meter increases as players perform extremely stylish moves similar to that of Devil May Cry 5 style meter. But killing enemies and grinding on rails without touching the ground also dramatically increases the amount of style on the meter as well. The game was also one of the first of its kind to basically have no respawn time either. Once you die, you return to the world with a variety of different methods, such as descending with a rocket or exiting a golden coffin. Insomniac branded these features as the next gen respawning back in 2014. The game's weapons are also extraordinary and are super fun to play with, and the sheer amount of variety and differentiation within the game's weapon system is amazing. I really enjoyed switching between all the weapons in my arsenal and flying around the game's expansive city, taking down all the enemies along the way to my ultimate objective. So yes, you should 100% buy Sunset Overdrive even in 2021, almost 7 years after it initially came out. The only problem for some to play the game is that even though PlayStation now owns Insomniac, the game is still only available on Xbox platforms and also PC. So you've only got two options on where to play the game, but I highly recommend this game due to all the points that I've outlined and dramatically elaborated on in this review. Hopefully I convince you to buy this awesome video game made by an awesome company, and I hope you do enjoy it if you do manage to get your hands on it. Anyway, that's it from me for today's video. Peace.